Welcome back to Unpaid Movie Critics at our site, unpaidmoviecritics.com. I am joined by the fixliest fixel of all the fixels.
There's not that many.
Former drama teacher, former ballet student, former ballet teacher, former interpretive dancer, and now member of the Detroit Film Critics Association, sort of. The multi-haired girl at large from Detroit. She's starting her new site. I'm a girl at large in Detroit running around doing things. No. Miss Becky Fixel.
Okay, and Mr. Semets, I have a question for you. I'm not going to be the hype girl.
An intro.
You do. Mike does run Mike the Fanboy, and he's been out at different events, .com, because we only do .coms. We don't do .nets because they seem scammy. So I'm just saying. Now, Mr. Semets just went to a movie premiere this week. Was it a premiere? What did you do on the 13th? You were photographed. I just get a random text, and Mr. Semets is noted in this on Getty Images as a screenwriter.
I am. So, well, through the pandemic, I have been writing quite a bit, and one of my horror films that I wrote was a horror comedy, won top 5 in Screenfest. And Screenfest is known as the Sundance of horror. So it was actually a really cool thing. So last year it won. And then I went to Screenfest on the 13th to support a friend of mine, Dan, whose movie, American Boogie Woman, I think. It's an Eileen Wuornos story. So you should check that out.
Is it any good? Was the movie good?
It's streaming right now on, I think he said iTunes video,
Okay.
But yeah, it's streaming. Go just search. Yeah. And so I was there to support Dan, see the movie, and so they said, "You're tall and Canadian. We'll take your pictures on the carpet." So yeah, so it was kind of fun. I get to go to the carpet.
I just randomly getting the text from you, and I have no idea what it's about. And I'm looking, and we're driving around, and I'm just scrolling. I'm like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, there's Mike." And then I see screenwriter, and I was like, "Oh, yay! So proud."
But yeah, it was really cute. It was really fun.
And it was a decent movie. It's one we should go see.
Yeah, go check it out. Dan's a great guy. They shot this in 12 days.
Wow.
A whole movie, and it stars Peyton List from Cobra Kai. And it's it's a unique and interesting take on the Eileen Wuornos story. It was a pandemic film, so they shot it all throughout the pandemic. So there's always limitations of the pandemic. But he did a fun little twist on it, and it's not necessarily it's historical fiction, but it's kind of fun. It's just a fun thing. You go into it thinking it's going to be fun.
But I mean, it's anything like The Tudors or The Great. That it has a nugget of truth and history in it, but the whole thing is just kind of bastardized and taking its own direction.
Yeah, and this version, the way he did it was because nothing is really known about this time of her life. So the way he did it was he kind of made it like she's telling the story the day before she gets before her execution. So it's her version of telling the story, and she's a known liar. So it's not necessarily this is what actually happened, but it's like her telling the story, which I thought was a great little twist on it. So
cool. Nice. I just enjoyed
seeing look it up on streaming.
A nice, splash that's your name and you're a screenwriter. I see 2 pictures. I'm still scrolling. How many there were?
2 or 3, but mostly 2.
But most. Okay, fair enough. All right. So look at you getting nice accolades throughout the days, and at least you can go to these events and go to red carpet type things.
Yeah, it's been interesting with the pandemic. I used to go to everything, and now I'm like, I don't want to do anything. But it's been a wild ride, going through everything and emotionally. And throughout the pandemic, I had a lot of, my company basically got shut down. Like, I lost one of my best friends, who isn't a friend, which is nice to know. And then the website obviously was a lot of based on in-person experiences. You couldn't really do that. So that kind of like has been interesting of a shift. And my whole life had to shift and change. And I got back into writing.
But you did well.
And
You
yeah, I wrote
adapted.
like 8 scripts and a pilot throughout the thing, throughout the pandemic. And we're working on funding right now for one of the movies with
Good.
a few producers. And it's very exciting and scary and like, oh gee, what's going to happen next year? And I hopefully, things pick up work wise in terms of my company and things like this. But really getting this movie made is such a priority. And I think for a lot of people, and the nice thing has been, I don't know if I've trained my friends, but you talk about friends and having friends, but I feel like I'm a very honest person. Like, hey, if you suck, you suck. Can't help it.
Yeah.
Um, but I want people to say, hey, Mike, by the way, you shouldn't sing for a living. And I would say, yes, you are absolutely right. I should not sing. But in a way, it's like being honest with each other, and not in a dicky way, but just being like, dude, stop. But to me, I just feel like that's such a cool thing when you have a relationship with a lot of people, that you're honest with them, they're honest with you, and when they say something positive or negative, it's not necessarily them trying to hurt your feelings, it's them supporting you,
It's more
but being
constructive
real.
criticism.
It's constructive, and I feel like that's very
Yeah.
Midwest. Speaking of D-town,
Yeah.
and I and I say 80 to 90% of all my friends are like that. So when I had a lot of friends, and I'm telling you, people would line up to tell me how much I suck.
Oh, no
I
wonder
mean,
you
it's
had a
true.
rough time.
When you put yourself out there, it's like and some people are like, oh, let's do it. Because I'm sarcastic. I like to insult people, and they like to insult me, but I don't do it behind people's back. I do it in front of their face because it's fun.
You'd rather have them know.
I'd rather have them know. It's kind of fun to see their reaction.
Yeah.
But you know, so doing this writing thing and seeing, a lot of my friends go, oh my God, this is amazing, and get passionate about a project that I wrote,
Yeah.
has been such an amazing experience,
That's good.
and it's been very sweet.
And it's
And
also what you needed, because I know at the beginning of the pandemic, you were very down.
mhm,
So it was your outlet and something for you to do. Like for me, for my anxiety, I've been out playing in dirt and, gardening
yeah,
and doing that. So, and then redoing the house room by room. And so, but that's what's been working for me. But we all have to have our little outlet and do our own thing.
right. And
So
this has been it's been great, and it's been great to see it. And out of all of my scripts that I've entered into contests, everyone has placed
that's
in
awesome.
various things. My dramas was the top 100 in a contest called Screencraft. Another horror drama was top 100 in Scriptapalooza. Um, this one was top 5 in. Everyone has a different way of doing it. Like Scriptapalooza, you get top 100 out of 6,000,
Okay.
and then they pick the top person. So it's like the top 100 is almost like winning, just so people understand how that works. And then for Screamfest, they do top 200, top 100, 50, 5, and 1.
Okay.
And that's out of, again, around, they don't say for that one, but I think it's around 6,000,
Oh, wow.
6,500
That's a lot. But I
people.
mean, you're also in LA. And if somebody's not an
It's
actor,
worldwide though.
oh, okay.
It's a worldwide competition. So anyone can enter, even from you in Detroit.
Well, I know, but I'd have to write, and I haven't written in a long time. I mean, I write articles, but those are one-offs,
Yeah, so
just
yeah,
while
and
I
then
was waiting
stage.
for you working on another movie review, because that's what my week's been. So,
Right, and and I went, I was in stage 32. There were contests for the drama. I mean, like, I've just had taken some of these scripts individually, picked certain contests to enter for them, and it's been a great experience in terms of that. So, it's been nice.
that's
So
good.
it's been cool to get like a nice little resume built up throughout this too, and so we'll see what happens. Hopefully trying to get this thing independently produced, and I've been selling. If you're looking for autographed memorabilia, hit me up, because I've been selling a lot of my stuff.
Like the
Not
two that are behind me that aren't up on the walls yet.
exactly. I've been selling my stuff as a fundraiser to raise some money.
Yes.
Um, and I mean, it's not going to be near what I need, but at least it gets us going. And it's been kind of a fun thing. If I have to, I can, I'll sew the costumes myself. But
Right.
trying to get in. And we got some cool news this week about some certain things about the film. So I'll let people know as it gets more and more. So yay.
Good. Awesome. All right. So do you want to go into your movie first?
I think we should go into my movie first because it was the assignment. And then we'll go into
I interpreted
yours,
the
which
assignment
wasn't the assignment.
differently, not wrong. But anyway.
I don't know. I think it was wrong, but that's okay.
Okay, so you chose 92 Batman Returns, and
you want to go into what we're talking about?
You wanted to talk about characters we liked.
Yeah, characters we loved. So when I say characters, you talk about Elle Woods. You talk about Catwoman. You talk about Thor.
Okay,
you
so you're talking about major characters. You didn't exactly specify that. And there's not anything wrong with choosing somebody who's a secondary character if you love that character. So
if they're playing a character. But
anyway, you chose this movie because you love Catwoman and you love Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Yes, not the later one.
Well, I think the later one. No, not Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, I was like, wait, Hathaway? Yeah.
No.
And look up the year. No, I don't know if anybody liked that one. So
I think she did okay. I think out of all the Catwomans, I think Julie Newmar did a really great job. She's my second favorite Catwoman. But Pfeiffer, I think, just took that role and just made it into something. It just blew the screen off. It's so stunning, her performance, and she's so into it.
And it's
There's
not
no Michelle
something
Pfeiffer
she normally plays. The only thing I have with that role in general, and it's not her role, her playing it or Hathaway playing it or anything, it's that comic book issue that it's this dorky, meek little woman that something happens and she turns into Catwoman. It's that almost like the, oh my gosh, take the glasses off and she's gorgeous type trope that gets played over and over and over. That is my only issue. Well, no, I have another issue. And again, this is just nitpicky on my side. There is no way she'd be doing 90% of that shit in heels.
Well, pleather. Let's put it that way. She sewed herself.
Right. Because totally not. And I noticed later, and I think in the original outfit, like when it starts, it's 100% pleather. And then later, like the corset area is a more breathable fabric. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like she probably needed to breathe. So, yeah.
Well, in the first, if you look at the film, like in the first moment, she's taking her outfits and sewing them together. So it's a piecework. And then it shows later her repairing it and changing it. So that's why the outfit does change throughout the movie. It's very subtle, I think, but very well done.
One thing I had to, and Jason laughed at me because I backed up the movie a few times just to verify this. And I was pulling up an image on my phone at the same time. And it was made about the same time the other movie was being made. The stitch marks on her costume are almost identical to Sally's in Nightmare Before Christmas. Like if you look,
that's interesting. I hate Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay, whatever.
I saw it maybe twice, and I was forced each time. So I didn't really notice that, but I can see that as a possibility.
They're both Burton. It would make sense, and you notice other nods to his other movies as you go through and rewatch his other movies. But I was watching it, and the legs are just a little off, but the arms, the neck, everything, it's almost identical. And I was
funny.
I was like, yeah, I got to back that up. Okay. So.
Well, and Tim Burton does that. So it doesn't shock me. Like if you watch Dark Shadows,
yep.
There's so many references. Besides the fact that almost everybody in that movie he's worked with before, like Pfeiffer and Depp, Helena Bonham Carter. Obviously. But, Michelle Pfeiffer has a nod to her character. And then if Chloe Grace Moretz comes out of her thing and she turns the camera and she's like, woof. That was obviously a nod to Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. There's a lot of little things he does in there that's kind of fun, that nods to everything in the past. I love Tim Burton. I think when he does something right, he does something right. This movie itself, as a whole, I don't think is his most effective film. I don't like the Penguin as much. I think he's gross for no reason to be gross. And
But
I
he's
know he
supposed to be a
likes it.
bad guy. He's supposed
I know he likes his blood splatter. I know he likes this, but like when he eats a raw fish, do we need to see this? Like it was too much, I thought, and I thought
okay.
Danny DeVito did an amazing job.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
I it was too it was just it was not my favorite part. I'm like, eh. Michelle Pfeiffer is my favorite part of any Tim Burton movie in existence.
How many
But
Tim Burton movies is she in? Just this one in Dark Shadows, or
yeah, I think she's only done the two with him.
okay?
Michael Keaton obviously did the two Batmans, and he did Beetlejuice. I think he was in Dumbo, which I think everyone's trying to
Yes,
forget. Yeah, I didn't watch it. I
wasn't
couldn't.
that wasn't the worst adaptation that they've done for live action. So,
Yeah. It
I
just
mean,
looked uninspired,
well, they basically, like every other one, pretty much did it verbatim. They just took out the drug references. So
which I think, you know,
they had
that
to
is part.
Disneyfy it.
They had a
So
Disney fight. But Batman Returns, I think if you're looking at a film, one, I love the fact that it takes place during Christmas. I think that's great. It's a Christmas movie theoretically, but it just adds a lot to it. But if
mhm.
without Pfeiffer, I don't think that film would be anywhere near where it is. I originally Michelle Pfeiffer, Madonna
It
was
was supposed to
actually
be Catwoman.
thought about being Catwoman, and she
I don't
turned
know
it
that that would have
down.
played well.
I don't either. It depends on how it would have worked, but I don't
Yeah.
think I, the reason Michelle Pfeiffer is so good is because she's a really good actress, and she committed. Like when she was a dork, she committed to being a dork. When she was Catwoman, she committed to being Catwoman. There are moments when she's kind of the dorky secretary in the beginning. I'm like, wow, she committed to that because she's Michelle Pfeiffer. I
Yeah,
mean,
but
one of the
I mean,
most beautiful women in the world.
in reality, let's be real here. She would never be the dorky secretary.
I don't know.
I don't think
You
she would.
know,
It's kind of like Gal Gadot being one in Wonder Woman. You just look at it and you're like, oh, yeah, I mean, she would play that, but I don't think she would be that.
I don't know. I don't know. I actually have known a lot of women who were extremely gorgeous and and had those kind of jobs.
Yeah,
It
but they're
wouldn't have
not
shocked
always
me.
the meek and can't stand up for themselves and then sudden flip. Like I said, it's that trope. And that's one of the issues I have with it. But that's not Michelle Pfeiffer. That's the role, you
Well,
know.
and you look at Superman, same kind of thing. He's a dorky guy turned into Superman, blah 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 blah
And
blah
you
blah.
take off his
It
glasses and oh my God, he's Superman.
Yeah, and it's super hot. Come on, like you can't tell that's Henry Cavill underneath that suit. Like his
Right.
muscles are literally breaking the seams of the shirt when he moves
Yeah,
his arm.
nothing will
Like
button up properly. Let's be
yeah,
real. So yeah, it's just that kind of
it's that.
stupid thing that
It's
Hollywood always does.
Yeah, and I mean, even in so many of these things, like you're kind of like, come on, people. But you can tell. I did think it was more effective here, and I think it was effective here more because she sold it.
Hmm.
Like there are those moments in her apartment when she's talking to herself and hearing her mother's thing, and oh my god, and she goes, "I gotta go back to the office." It's like you hear her and you see her doing it. I think she sold it for me,
Although, can
and
we
more than
talk
anything
about that
else.
apartment? Holy crap, bubblegum pink, even the ID.
Yeah,
But then the outside, and it's just this little top of the building. Like,
yeah.
even so, say Gotham is like New York or, LA or San Francisco, she would be paying way ridiculous prices for that and then painted it Pepto Bismol and covered it in stuffed animals.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they picture and they talk about Gotham being this horrible, and every iteration of Batman, a horrible crime-ridden city.
Yeah.
So if that's is it, I mean, like your property values aren't that high because of the crime and everything. I don't understand how there can be so much crime. I mean, there's enough
You know
rich
who the
people in the
bad guys
city.
are. They kind of announce themselves.
Yeah, like I mean, between everyone, there's like, oh, it's the Riddler, oh, new one. I mean, move at certain points. I mean, like, oh,
Well,
you
I
better
mean,
go.
well, there is that. But then at the same time, like the newer versions of the Batman, not the newest version, not Ben Affleck, or is it Robert Pattinson is going to be Batman next, whatever.
Hmm.
The Christopher Nolan ones are shot mostly in Chicago.
Right.
crime rate in Chicago and the prices of stuff are all high. So
But Chicago is not nearly as high as New York. New York is
no,
like,
no.
it's
Well,
insane.
it's like San Francisco.
Right.
Although that should be flipping with people moving out of the area since they can all work remote now. So we'll
Yeah,
see what
people
happens
are
with that.
leaving San Francisco pretty rapidly. Um, but yeah, that movie in and of itself, it's just one of those movies I can rewatch over and over and over and over and over. Again, you can see the flaws in it.
Yeah. But it's from the
You can
90s, so
see
we can nitpick everything now from the 90s.
it's from the 90s. You can see it. The pacing's a little off. It's not necessarily my favorite movie, but it's my favorite character.
So the
And she just,
Batmobile, so plasticky, it
I
made me laugh.
know.
And I was like, oh, I didn't remember this. And it's so funny because like I had to look up what year it was because I think the Batman Begins, like I remember seeing that when I was pretty, what do you say, 4 apples tall. I had
Yeah,
just got my ears pierced, so I was pretty little sitting in theater watching.
that's hilarious.
I was like, was it this one or was it that one? And I was like, oh, it's the one before this. So yeah, I had to look it up. I'm sure I saw this in theaters because, it was Batman. My parents were like, yeah, you guys go to the movie theater. Bye.
Right. I mean,
Well,
and then at the time, these were dark movies
they
for
were.
Warner. I mean, now we look at them and they're like, it's light and candy. But back then, it was criticized for being super dark.
But
I
then
mean,
they have Tim Burton doing it, and most of his movies are super dark.
mhm.
So,
But even if you watch Batman 89, it's not a dark now in comparatively. I mean, now we have children getting turned into zombies on The Walking Dead and bloody guts, and that's just everywhere on
right.
regular TV. Yeah, it's cable, it's still regular TV.
But I mean, okay, so on that note, I just watched and was in the middle of typing up the review for it before this, the new Halloween movie and Halloween
Mm,
Kills. I don't like horror films, but I think I'm so desensitized because of the shows we watch now.
yeah.
Like, yeah, there were a few parts I just kind of cringed at the blood, but it wasn't scary to me. So I was like, I mean, I am
Wow.
watching it in the middle of the day, but it's one of those that I'm like, it didn't make me, there weren't the jump scares that I was used to. Maybe if I was at home alone and dark and all that, and
Yeah.
but it wasn't that scary.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
yeah, but maybe we're just getting desensitized because if you
Well,
watch a lot of these movies, a lot of those creative kills, they get more creative as you go.
yes. And that's it. That's, you know, the more creative a kill, the less realistic it is.
Yeah,
And that's, like even writing when I wrote my movie, I loved creative kills.
they're
Uh
fun. They're fun,
they're fun.
entertaining.
But I wasn't trying to make a realistic horror movie. I was trying to make a horror comedy. So I
Right.
wanted over the top horror, I wanted over the top kills. And the original Halloween wasn't like that. It was like,
No,
it just stabs them. And that's what makes it so
I
scary.
mean,
I
they do
didn't see the
that.
Halloween kills yet, but
It's on Paramount Plus right now and in
uh,
theaters as of today. But there was still the killing and the stabbing and shooting. But I mean, there's like a scene where a firefighter is going into this burning house and Michael Myers is coming out to get him. He's going after him with a circular saw. And I'm like, why is a fireman taking a circular saw into a fire?
that's stupid, kind of, huh?
Uh-huh. I mean, there were a couple times that the movie's a little more self-aware, and this lady thinks he's in the back seat, tells her husband to go look, and he goes, "No, I'm not going to look at that," and he runs away because he's like, "I'm not stupid. I'm not going to look in the back seat for a serial killer." Which,
Right.
hello, right? So
Duh.
he's been killing people for 40 years. You think they would have caught on to something by now, but
I mean, isn't he tired? I mean, I'm sorry.
it's the
I don't
12th
want to leave the
movie.
house. I don't want to leave the house.
12th
And he's just
movie,
out there killing
right?
and going through all this shit and falling out of windows. I'm just like, no, 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 no.
And the
Who has the
cute
energy
couple
for this?
purchased the house that he grew up in. So that's not going to end well.
Right.
So I
And
won't
why
give it
would it?
right. But why would the serial killer that's never been stopped and is still out there, let's buy his house and update it.
No, no.
It's like, old houses that are, 100, years old, like the Conjuring house was recently up for sale.
Hmm.
And it even says ghosts included, which cracked me up in the listing.
That's funny.
But that's a ghost, not somebody who's supposedly alive and trying to get you, you
Yeah.
know. So, especially, they come back on Halloween. How about you go on vacation on Halloween?
Yeah.
Just a thought, just a thought.
Just an idea. If you're going to buy it, just maybe take that moment to not be there.
Right.
Just tossing it, you know.
And, you're in Illinois, so you can take a little road trip and go to Salem. It's probably safer.
Yeah,
So,
no shit. See the Hocus Pocus houses. You'll love it.
right. I love Salem. It's a cute little town. So, we,
Now, going to the opposite end of the spectrum,
but also Christmas.
also Christmas, ironically, is Becky's choice for her
Yes.
favorite character. That
He's
was
a
my air
character.
quotes.
Okay,
He's
so
not a
here's
character.
here's why, yes, he's playing a character. Jack Black's character, Miles, the reason I like him as a character and I like him in the movie, besides the fact it's not his usual type of role, is he's playing something that's so genuine that you actually feel for that character. It's not something over the top, it's not a trope. And that's why I chose that. So,
So Becky chose the holiday. I need
yes,
so that's because no one's gonna know that name of the character. Um,
sorry.
uh,
so so
the
Mike
romantic
disagrees.
comedy, The Holiday.
Yes, and it's a Christmas movie, and you love the movie, you said, so get over
Mhm.
it.
I like the movie.
You just don't agree
Um,
with my choice
I
because
don't think
he's
it's a
not an
character.
iconic character.
Well, he's not a character. I mean, it's just
He is a
when you think
character.
of characters, you think Shaun from Shaun of the Dead. You think, you
I do
know,
like that movie, but I don't
you
like. So okay, so here, and
and
I guess
honestly, okay, I thought when rewatching it
mhm, you
that
dislike it.
Jack. No, I mean it was fine. I actually saw more Jack Black than I thought, and I actually was like, oh look, he's actually. It felt like he was just sleepy Jack Black. Like I
Really?
didn't think he was that different from what he usually
He's,
plays.
I think he's a lot different than what he usually plays because he usually plays the over the top ones. But he's toned down, but that character is a character I like. So
But
you
he's
didn't
still Jack
specify.
Black.
Well, he's Jack Black, but he's always going to be Jack Black. That'd be like saying
No,
Nicolas
but I
Cage is
mean,
not Nicolas Cage
no,
in
but
all of his roles because we know he's always Nicolas Cage in every freaking role.
well, yeah, it's like saying, oh look, Sandra Bullock is still Sandra Bullock. Well, yeah, of course she is
Yeah,
because
but she
she's
doesn't
not
always play the
Meryl Streep.
same character. But so this is our discussion then,
That's
because
debatable.
so our discussion, because you said character and I went for somebody in a movie, you were looking for iconic character. So,
Yeah, I guess I should have specified more iconic. I thought you would have gotten that when I said Catwoman, but I
well, okay,
suppose
but here's the thing. I have a Wonder Woman hanging over my desk that you can't see. I've got Edna Mode over there. I've got characters all over my office, but none of them, I don't go, oh my God, I need to see that movie because Edna Mode's in it or Wonder Woman's in it. I don't have like, and I'm not a, oh my God, Spider-Man or Iron Man. I don't have that attachment to characters like that. And I don't know if that's just me because I know you obviously do. I have a friend who's obsessed with Spider-Man. I just don't.
hmm, you're
So,
weird.
well, that's not news. But
I had
I
this
mean,
guy at my old apartment building when I was a manager.
uh-huh.
I didn't super quiet, kept to himself. He was killing people. Just kidding. Um,
You never
and
know.
I had to do like a walkthrough of the building to kind of see
Mhm.
what was repairing wise. And I walked in. He had a wall, and this is before the series came out. A wall of Supergirl memorabilia,
Oh, wow. So
and I went.
loved.
I stopped and I was like, and mind you, these are singles. It's not like a one bedroom.
Yeah. This is like a
And I just,
studio.
it's a studio, yeah. And I went, holy shit, that's a lot of Supergirl. I mean, and it was like my office, but just Supergirl. Everything was Supergirl, like little action figures that I didn't know existed, and I was like,
But there's that fandom that
Wow.
attack. I mean, if you look around me in the office, there's a high, Disney theme behind me or whatever, but it's not one character.
Right. And I'm very eclectic in my taste. Like, I mean, I love
Yeah.
my Buffy's stuff and I love, this and that, but I like a roundabout stuff. I don't focus on one thing. It's like, oh Lordy.
Right.
Um,
And I mean,
that's a little weirder to me, but God
well, and
bless
it's
you.
funny because like I told Jason, I was like, well, this is what I chose. And he kind of did the same thing you did, like, okay. But he's like, don't hate the movie, but okay. And he's like, you could have chose like Bridget Jones or
Yeah.
which I watched that movie last night because I needed my eyes are hurting from watching all these freaking movies for screeners this week. So I was like, I need something mindless, something fluff. So that's my go-to for fluff. But I don't know that, I mean, I don't have Bridget Jones stuff anywhere. Anywhere. So,
I have a couple.
do you, well, never mind. I was gonna say, do you really? I'm shocked. No, I'm not.
I have a couple sign posters,
I'm sure you do. I mean, those weren't listed for sale. So what's up?
They weren't.
What? They weren't? No,
They
because you
weren't,
won't
no.
give those up.
I was thinking of putting one up actually, because I have one that's just Renee. It's a
Yeah.
teaser of her, and then I have the one that's Colin, Hugh, and Renee. But only Renee signed it, and I was like, I don't want to go through the rabbit hole of the two, so I might sell the other
Well,
one.
if you ever put that one up, you know who to contact first. But that's the thing. But your site is also Mike the Fanboy. So
Yes.
you have that attraction and latch onto characters. But I don't have any character that, I mean, what character is there like really for just a normal, air quotes, white girl?
Well, I mean, you have a Beetlejuice sign behind you. There's a major character right there.
That is, I mean, yeah, but I'm not in
John
love.
Wick, that's a major character who
It
got
is
to go back to Keanu in every
every
podcast
episode.
because
But I
love the
want
Keanu.
the fact that they're doing another John Wick. Yes, I will go see that movie. The fact that they're working on another Beetlejuice. I mean,
I
I
know.
will, but Beetlejuice isn't something that would. I mean, we actually have a Beetlejuice welcome mat in front of our door right now that says it's showtime.
Oh
But
yeah, it's fun.
it's not a character that I would go, oh my God, I must have everything of, or it's just, that's not me. So maybe my choice reflects that more than a lack of clarification on the assignment.
Perhaps, and that's fine. I mean, honestly, I actually really enjoyed The Holiday. I think it's a very cute movie. I think
It's cute. It makes me cry every time, and I hate that.
you know
So,
what I actually liked about it. I hated Titanic as a film.
of
I mean, you're talking. I have a signed poster, but I still didn't like the
course you
movie
do.
because it's iconic. But iconic characters. Um, but this movie, when I watched The Holiday, it made me fall in love with Kate Winslet
Yeah.
more than even. I think I saw this before I saw Eternal Sunshine, and then I saw Eternal Sunshine. I was like, oh my god, it really nailed the Kate Winslet love for me,
The only
and
problem,
she did such a great job,
I
and
mean,
Cameron Diaz too. Like she did, all of the actors did great. Even Jude Law, he played himself.
yeah. And
Great.
I think this one came out at the same time, around the same time. There were like 5 or 6 Jude Law movies that all came out about the same time. So
Yes, he was over
it was, we were
exposed.
over Jude Law. But I
Mm,
mean, the only issue I have with Kate Winslet's character, I mean, and I think it's more a personal thing, is she's a woman that's being used and is in a manipulative relationship. She plays it very well, but I think it's something that a lot of women can relate to. It's something that we've all had to some degree. And I mean, I guess guys
mhm.
probably do too, you know. So it's, I don't like that part of her character, but that's not her acting, that's that role. So,
Yeah,
you know, but I mean, she does find her backbone and her voice and get out. So,
yeah, and I think she did a really good job of going against the trope of what you're saying. I
yeah,
think she did a really good job. Jude Law kind of dove into the trope, which is fine.
yeah.
Two different polarized ways of coming into the character, and Jack Black was there, sleepy, and then you had Cameron Diaz playing Cameron Diaz, but it all worked. It all really worked for the foursome. I thought they did a really good job, and
Yeah.
I think it was one of those little movies that I think people have found over time because when I talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, that or that, it's like a holiday movie that gets found, but
Right.
not it's not Love Actually.
Right. Well, and that's one that it's one of the ones that's not in our rotations at the holiday season. Love
Mm,
Actually. And I think it's probably, and this is kind of a weird story, but we were at his parents for Christmas one year and his sister put it on, which is fine. It's a Christmassy
yeah,
movie, whatever,
it's
except for
Christmas, yeah.
that whole shooting a porn scene.
Right. That okay, that's a whole different subject, but
That was really
it's a
awkward with parents
weird
around.
movie. It's a weird movie. That's why I kind of like it. They don't care. They're like, yeah, we're gonna be fucking buck naked. And I was like, I remember seeing it, and I was like, there's boobies. Like, whoa. And it was Martin Freeman who
Yep.
ended up becoming, Bilbo Baggins. Uh,
Right. And that's
like,
the thing.
oh,
And the movie's just kind of quirky. I mean, our holiday pick is usually the one that we go and we'll watch it in the middle of the year. Have you watched The Ref?
I love The Ref.
Oh my
One of
God.
one of the best holiday movies
It is. And we
that no
stumbled on
one
it
knows.
one year.
Yeah.
We watched that like several times during the holiday season. So, but a lot of people have never heard of that one. So that is a
Yeah.
holiday recommendation.
Judy Davis, when she comes in and she's like, oh, here's the dish I made, blah blah blah, it's a thing, and she goes, and then the mom's like, it sounds very sweet, and she slams on the table and she's like, don't eat it. I was like,
And
I
then
died.
Christine
Died.
Baranski's line that the sex, drugs, and setting women on fire just
Yeah,
cracks me up every time.
it's so well done.
It is. And it's one
It
of the
really
sleeper
is.
ones that people don't know about. I mean, we had a little bit
Yep.
of time that we kind of stopped watching it after the whole Kevin Spacey issue.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate
Yeah,
that
it
there's
kind
so
of
many
taints the movie.
films. Yeah, it's Swimming with Sharks, it was such a good movie, and his thing. We're totally digressing from the subject at hand.
Oh, God, yes, we are, but that's okay.
And but this could be the okay. This is I thought we'd have a different topic, but let's just keep going with this one. I think it's kind of fun when you're talking about a film that gets ruined because of an actor
Or even a show. Think of
or a
Bill
show. Either
Cosby.
way, think of Bill Cosby. Kevin Spacey. The Ref is one of my favorite movies. It's tough to
Yep.
watch, and also Usual Suspects.
Yep.
Not only for Kevin Spacey, but Bryan Singer.
Yep.
I mean, that whole thing with Bryan Singer, and he hasn't been, you know, convicted of anything, or it's
Yes.
just accusations out there. But
But
I know
still,
enough. I know enough being in Hollywood,
there's enough that you
personally,
hear.
that I knew that,
It's not
you
shocking to
know,
you.
it. No,
But
I knew people involved
but here's the thing. If you knew that beforehand and you watched it and didn't have a problem, why is it now a problem now that the accusations are out there publicly? Or
because
was it a problem before?
well, here, what's interesting is when you hear it from one person, and I knew a couple friends, and they were sort of not really involved, but they were on the outskirts of it. One guy, I think he was more involved than he told me about. And I
Okay.
think he was dating him. I did know one guy who was dating Bryan Singer, and I don't know if he was of legal age at the time, because he was very young. But I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. I just don't know. Uh, and this was when I found out, when I was learning all of this. This was after X-Men, before X, when he left the X-Men franchise.
Mm-hmm.
This was what I was hearing about. So I knew before he did Superman. Um, and it was a little interesting going back and X2, I think, is one of the best superhero movies made. So yeah, it was a little bit of a challenge.
But you knew about
And
it before it came out, though.
I knew, no, not X2. I
Oh,
knew
okay.
most this between after X2 came out,
Okay.
and I saw those movies, but um before he did Superman Returns, I
Okay.
believe. I believe it may have been after Super. I may have heard about it more personally after Superman Returns. I don't remember, to be frank. I don't really talk to either one of them now. There's people involved, but yeah, it was wild, and it did taint it a little bit. Even now watching it, and even then, I remember going back. I don't think I actually saw Superman at the time. I don't remember. It does give you a different feeling when you're watching it. You know,
I
a
mean,
friend of mine actually worked on Superman Returns and knew a lot about. I heard some stories after about some of the actors not getting along with Bryan Singer. One of my favorites, actually, in the film, which you could probably guess from my past history on this podcast, uh,
mhm.
didn't like the way her character was portrayed in the film. I thought she was the highlight of the movie, actually. And I thought Brandon Routh did a great job, but those kind of things. I'm trying to think of what to say and what not to say. So sorry if I
Well, yeah, don't
skip
say
around.
anything that'll get you or somebody else in trouble. But like,
Yeah,
I mean, any of the movies or
even
TV.
Mel Gibson. Think about Mel
Oh my
Gibson.
God, right? But he's
I,
slowly trying to come back. So,
and here's the thing. He was an alcoholic, and he said some really shitty things. Um, I love Braveheart. Can't say I don't. I love Maverick. I think it's such a great movie that people kind of missed a little bit, some here and there, but I think he did such a good job. One of Jodie Foster's best roles. She doesn't play comedy a lot, and that movie she just nails. Her and Mel Gibson are still really good friends to this day.
but I mean, even if we look more recent than his tirade, Liam Neeson's comment, you remember that one, right? That somebody,
Yeah, it was. He said it again too. What did he
yeah, I mean,
say? Was it?
yeah, it's just one of those things. If you have that kind of thought, not that it's a good thought,
But what did Liam Neeson say? I don't
there
remember.
was somebody in his family that I believe was assaulted or raped by someone of color. And he said he wanted to go out and kill or beat up somebody of color to balance it out. Not the person who did it, just anyone.
What a stupid thought. I mean,
Which is a
it,
very stupid thought because that's not going to fix anything or change what happened. And you should want justice against the person who did the crime,
yeah,
you know. But why the hell would you say that out loud
so
on
dumb.
an interview? Yeah,
And that's the thing. Like, look at Sean Connery. Look the shit that he said over the years.
right.
You know,
Eating women and yeah.
it, I mean, like, it's really rough, and you're like, oh Lord,
But
and
he's
I
still one of
mean,
my favorite Bonds. So,
it's hard. And how do you separate? And can you separate one versus the other?
right.
Right.
It's
I
hard.
mean,
It really is hard.
I think it takes a little bit of time when people say stupid things and there's a big scandal. And then it's like, okay, this just takes a minute. I can now separate the actor from the character or the actor
Right.
from the film. And it does take a minute. I mean, watching Bohemian Rhapsody, I was at the first screening, the first public screening of that film.
And it's so good.
It's so good.
So good.
Um, and I remember it was the entire cast was there, minus one of the guys who played Queen and the editor. And they were like, they started the Q&A, and I remember watching it and going, oh my God, this is so good. It's on the Fox lot, the Sony lot. No, it
Uh,
was Fox. Sony, yeah,
Fox,
Sony.
20th Century Fox.
It was on the Fox lot in their big theater. And I remember loving the film. I was like, holy shit, this was such a good movie.
It really
So
is.
impressed. And then the guy started, in the Q&A, the first thing the moderator said, he's like, all right, we need to address the elephant in the room. What everyone here is thinking. I'm like, what is everyone thinking? And I didn't even know that Bryan Singer had gotten fired off the film. I
Yeah.
really had no idea all this stuff happened. And I'm like, where is I? Am I in a rock? Like, what did I not know? And, they talked about it at length. And it was great that they just really just bit the bullet and addressed it.
Well, they
And it
had
was a lot. It
to.
was a voting crowd. So
Right.
they really had to get in there and just say, hey, if this movie's going to win anything, and they really thought Rami Malek had a good shot of winning Best Actor.
I
They
mean,
didn't
he did.
expect Best Picture, but
I don't dislike him
look,
in most everything he does, and that role he did really well.
yeah, he was great. Uh,
So,
and it was such a departure from Mr. Robot. So they
yes.
really did address it, and it was interesting how they approached that subject matter, because it could have been debacle.
Yeah.
And the editor came in and took over the directing reins. Did a
Right.
great, fantastic job. No, you couldn't tell what was what,
Right. You couldn't see the
So
difference or where it switched. So, I
yeah,
mean, I guess on that note, the studio's getting ahead of it in the scandal rather than trying to bury it, especially now,
right.
in this post Me Too world. We kind of have to take accountability for these things.
Look at Netflix and
Oh,
the Dave Chappelle controversy. I have not seen. I
we
have not
watched about
seen it.
half of it. It
Was it
was,
good?
no, we are not the target audience. I have a friend who absolutely thought it was hilarious. We watched it and we're just like, okay. And we were trying to get to the part where he's talking about transgender people, and we're trying to find, we just don't want to see the little snippet of information. We want to,
The whole thing.
yeah, we want to see it in context so we can make our own choice and judgment here. And we watched 40 minutes and we didn't get to it. Like, he talks about it a little at the beginning and he talks a little bit here. And I guess it was filmed here in Detroit, which,
Oh,
okay. But we just at 40 minutes, we're like, yeah, we're done. We aren't the audience for this. Few laughs here and there, but I don't know.
and for the most part, I used to like Dave Chappelle quite a bit. I don't understand, and I don't understand why someone, even in his position, has to attack people who already are, marginalized.
Right.
That's what I
I
don't
don't understand that as well.
understand. I mean, look, you don't get it,
But it's not
you don't
yours to
understand.
get.
It's not yours. Then all you need to do is have compassion and that's it.
Right.
All we have to do, that should be society. It's just have compassion for people, give a shit about, say, hey, look, man, I love you. You don't need to go any farther.
Right.
Even J.K. Rowling, it's like, I feel that
Well, she's the only thing. Okay. So
I
I
think what
hate,
she was trying to do, to be completely honest, not to cut you off, I'm so sorry.
yeah,
I
we do
just
all
felt
the
like
time.
she was trying to start. I think she was trying to start a discussion,
Ye-
and quickly
Okay.
realizing you cannot do that on social media, and that's what I think she was trying to do, and that blew up. But
So,
go
and
ahead.
I
Sorry.
think with her situation, what I like about what happened, she put a major tar on the franchise with what she said
Yes.
and being stupid. But what I like what happened is the fans basically said, screw her, we love it anyhow. Take her out of that
Yeah.
equation. I
Yeah.
love that the fandom for that just went, you know what, we're owning it. And I saw some tweets, and I think there was a Reddit thread basically going around saying, it's amazing that the story just came into existence and there was no author at all. They just totally cut her out of it. And, I love the passion for that they're just like, okay, she's a moron, especially the fandom for the Harry Potter franchise is a lot of queer folk, a
Yeah.
lot of people that are in marginalized communities, and she's attacking them. And I'm just like, just 5 seconds, think.
Think. Well, I mean, I think in the original, I think she had mentioned her interpretation of Dumbledore, that he was gay.
Mhm.
Um, and
Which is okay.
which is no, I think it's actually adds a lot to the story if you watch the movies again, because I haven't read the books, you know, but
No, it's kind of like the 50 Shades books. The writing's not that great. What
you
they
know,
did with it is good.
yeah.
So the
And I
books are
mean,
kind of, but they're young adult. So,
right, it's what you
get what you
do,
get.
but it's in some level, it's like you wonder, is like the way Draco hates Harry so much is like, was that kind of a thing that they're, I don't know. Even in the movie, you watch it a little bit, and you're like, love to
Yeah, there's
hate,
some,
that kind of thing. I don't know. You could read between the lines. I don't think she shied away from that, because there wasn't a lot of relationships in that movie. They were very young, and you
yeah,
understand. But it's like, I I do think people try to start conversations, and I think that that's part of the problem. I don't think our society is the place to start conversations anymore. And that's
Not right now.
that's a that not right now. And I'm like, it's an issue. It shouldn't be that way. You should be able to have a conversation. You
Right.
should be able to change your opinion too and not get flamed and killed for it.
Right. Like the people going back 10, 20 years, or not 20 years, but 10, 15 years and finding a tweet for somebody that's racist. Okay. What they said
Okay.
at the time, totally abhorrent. No, there's no way around that.
Right.
But we can hope as a human being that they have grown in 15 years, that they've
Yes.
changed. I mean, even in the last couple years, hopefully people have changed some, you
Right.
know.
Well, look at Eddie Murphy. Like, okay, he and Raw. If you watch Eddie Murphy Raw, and he makes a lot of you're like these jokes, and he hasn't really come out and denounced the film, but he's like, look, I love everybody. As
Yeah.
far as I know, it's what he said something, and it's not that you know
But
it's
then,
it's changed so much. Things
but
have
it,
changed so much, and perceptions have changed so much.
how perceptions have changed, but also how things have been played on TV. And if you rewatch Friends,
Oh yeah,
look at all the bad jokes, bad gay jokes, all the way
yeah.
through the whole series. I love this series, but then I'm watching it. First of all, Ross is just abhorrent. He's a horrible person. But I watch it
My
and
dad hated Ross so much.
I'm just like, why would anybody date this dude? He's a big crying man baby.
Yeah.
But besides that, just some of the stuff that they go through, and I'm just like, that's more unbelievable than that apartment rent controlled in New York City.
Well, look at
So,
the fat jokes that they did for Monica.
oh my God, right?
I mean, it was honestly hilarious
But at
because
the time,
because Courtney Cox sold it and she did a
yes,
great job. But you watch it now and you're like, that would never fly.
right.
They body shamed her, and Courtney Cox is like,
80
honestly,
times
I
what?
have her original costume from Scream 2 in my basement on a mannequin. I can fit my hands around it. Like that's how thin she is.
Yeah.
Um, and but it was funny. I get what they were trying to do, but like, oh no.
Yeah, but at
And
the net,
Seinfeld,
yeah,
it's like it's all these shows.
but that stuff then could be put on TV and it was funny.
Hmm.
Nowadays, we hope or we believe, I think, that we have more sensitivity to that. Just like, and I mean, we check ourselves at times. You go, oh my God, I can't believe that person does this or blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, wait a minute. Judge the person not by their body, not by this, not by their race. If they're a piece of crap person, they're a piece of crap person.
Yep.
But okay, because that person has this wrong with them. That doesn't mean they're a bad person. That's just,
It's just them. I mean, and and it's funny now. You like, especially the Ryan Murphy shows. They do tend to not be politically correct because they'll make these jokes
Mhm.
that are funny, but they are very specifically written so that that they're in on it, and it's like it's not
Right,
so they're not being mean. They're making it so you laugh at the stereotype that they're
right.
actually making. It's a whole different thing,
And it's
and it's
attacking a
very well done.
stereotype versus attacking a person. And that
Right.
makes a big difference.
And Modern Family did that really well too.
He did.
If you really watch Modern Family, and people bagged on them at the whole time when everything started exploding with Me Too, they were like, "Oh, look at Modern Family," and I'm like, "Oh no, 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 no." Modern Family did it in a very specific way, in a very specific thing. They're making fun of the stereotype and not the stereotype people.
Yeah, they're
It was
not
a whole different thing. And
right.
they were all around, they were from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum. And they did it for everybody. And
Exactly.
it was so well done. It was so well intelligently done that I was really mad when people started trying to cancel them because they did such a great job with it.
Yeah. And there's a way that you can handle these situations. But, again, now it's that sensitivity and it's that writing it so it doesn't attack people. But it's
Yeah.
taking that 5 seconds to do that.
And I think everything that happened, with it was so it needed to happen
Yeah. Oh gosh, it
at this
does. I
time.
mean, we have to get further from where we were.
Yeah. And I think it the pendulum swings, it's like it was over here, then it swings way over the other side. and eventually you find its way back to the middle where you guys are, everything is there in the middle and it kind of settles. And I think that's
Right.
where we're hopefully going to get back to, because it does need to get there. You can't go too far to the other side and too far to one side. It has to be in the middle. And hopefully we will get back to the middle sooner rather than later. But it's tough, and it really is interesting when you have someone in the public eye. They either get disgraced or shamed, and you're like, does that ruin that work? I haven't watched the Cosby Show since Bill Cosby did that.
No,
I
you haven't
hate.
either.
I
I used to
never
love
liked
that
him.
show.
I did when I was younger. My family used to watch it, but I knew he was
All of
not a
us
nice
did.
person. I knew he was not a nice person. I knew when I got older. I mean, there was things on the Tonight Show that I knew people that worked there, and when he would guest, he was a jackass.
But I mean, beside the whole, rapey
Yeah.
side, there's this thing
Besides that whole situation, that whole little thing.
that whole little thing, right? But I mean, there's
Yeah.
other stars and there's people that we know locally that came from here, like Tim
Hmm.
Allen. He's known for being a total ass.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if we even take this to current, like a current scandal issue that's happening, what about Ellen?
Yeah.
Her
Oh, dude.
rules. See,
I can tell you a story about Ellen. She is one of the darkest people.
really, and turns on
Oh,
the
that's all an act. Like
well,
everything that people have said, it's all true. I used to be on her lot all the time. And
okay.
I knew several. I mean, like, I was kind of a little whore. I would be on that lot.
I'm
My
not
friend worked at,
saying
I had friends at Tonight Show, and we would go meet people all the time. And the Tonight Show and Ellen were in the same studio in Burbank on off Alameda. And so Ellen would have a studio on the left, and then you go around the corner in the midway, and that's where the Tonight Show was.
okay.
And then when Jay Leno took over the 10 p.m. spot, Ellen left, and they went to Warner Brothers.
Hmm.
And the stories were just,
And that was
people
before her
that,
show, well before her show.
oh yeah, the stories, no, the Ellen DeGeneres show was taping,
Oh,
but the
okay.
people I knew, that, because there was people that worked on, runners that would go between both, and oh my gosh, everybody hated it over there. It was miserable, and she made it miserable. Like, she would do things to torment people on purpose and be mean to people on purpose, which was the opposite of Jay Leno, which really upset me when he got all that flack for Conan,
Hmm.
because that man is a teddy bear. He didn't know me from Adam, but he would recognize me because I would be there a lot
All the time.
around. And he'd be like,
Yeah.
"Hey man, how you doing?" He would grab me, and I'm like, "You don't know me, dude." But
But
he
you'll
wanted
take
to
it.
make sure that I was because I was he thought, I could have been staff, I could have been this. He recognized
Yeah.
my face. Just the most
So
kindest man.
when it
And
comes to Ellen,
Ellen,
her roles, I mean, I don't know too many of them, but
she hasn't really done
story.
acting, but besides Dory and Mr. Wrong, I mean, that's funny actually when you think about that movie.
But I still like Dory, but that was basically just her.
That was just her voice. I mean, she did
It
a
was just
show
her.
in the '90s called Open House. That
Okay.
was a spinoff, as on Fox. It was a spinoff of Duet, and it lasted one season. This is the crap that's in my brain. And
Uh-huh.
then she went after her own show, the Ellen, Ellen, or it was called Friends Like These, and it turned to Ellen, and
Okay.
that lasted 4 seasons, and that was her coming out. And then
Yep.
she did her talk show.
Yeah. But there was a big gap between her coming out and the talk show because of the whole scandal. But that's because they announced it to prepare everyone. And now you have things in like Loki where he confirms that he's bisexual or pansexual or whatever it was. And everybody's
Yeah,
just like, yeah, okay, cool,
makes
whatever.
sense. Whatever. Who cares? I mean, no
Yeah.
one cares. It's like,
No,
great,
now,
thanks.
well, super conservatives care, but they're not listening to us anyhow. So,
Well, I mean, at that point, it's like, look, you had True Blood.
mhm,
That show broke a lot of boundaries in terms of, thanks to Ellen Ball. 6 Feet Under, even another Ellen Ball show, did that. There's a lot of shows and things that just didn't care. And
right.
nowadays it's like stories I heard from high school. I was like, wow, I wish I was in high school now. I could be
Well,
dating
and
more
that's the
people.
thing. I mean, it's a different world from where even
Yeah,
when I was in high school, when you were in high school, and I know you said you weren't a fan of the movie, but one of the things that I loved about Booksmart was, see, roll your eyes at me, thank you, but was that it's so, there was no body shaming. There was
yeah,
no shaming for sexuality. It was just, they're there, they're kids, that's it. That they
yeah,
accepted everybody. Yeah, you might be a dork. All right, they'll make fun of you for that, you know, or sleeping around too much or whatever. So that stuff was still there, but oh, she's gay, no big deal. He's gay, no big deal.
right,
So I
right.
liked that. So even if you don't like the movie, you got to give it props for that.
I didn't hate the movie. I just thought it could have been. I thought it could have been better written, and I thought they tried to push it out too hard. I thought they tried to force it really hard because it was a female writer and female director, and that was her movie. And they're like, "Oh, this needs to be out there because this." And it was. I felt like the hype was being pushed
Mhm.
rather than the actual product being good enough. And the movie itself was okay. It was fine. I enjoyed it, but and I love those kind of films.
Mhm.
I've watched it once, never needed to see it again. Whereas I can watch a teen comedy no matter what 100 times. I love
So
them.
what is funny to me is the guys that I know who have seen that movie say that same thing. They don't need to see it again. Every girl I know that's seen Booksmart, they're like, absolutely love it. I'll watch it again. So maybe there's
It's
something more
interesting. It
relatable.
could be, and it really could be. It just, I thought there was, I'm trying to remember going back in time. It just felt, I didn't like a couple of the characters in the party.
Like
I
the
thought there was
Gigi girl.
yeah, there was just some things that I was like, whatever.
I mean,
I
it's a
just
goofy
didn't.
teen movie, but
No, but I mean, think about, Can't Hardly Wait, and you think about Empire Records, and you think
Mhm.
about, Clueless, and you think about Mean Girls, and you think about
God, I
16
love Mean
Candles.
Girls.
I mean, those are all staples.
Yeah.
I mean, Legally Blonde wasn't really a teen comedy; it was more college, but you know, all
Yeah.
of it, I love it. I mean, teen comedy, sign me up. I mean, I even watched She's All That again because I was like, oh, I wonder if it's as terrible as I remember. Yes, it is.
But
Um,
it has that trope in it that I talked about earlier. She's
yeah.
an
Oh,
artsy
look,
dork
she's
and
really hot.
she's ugly because she's wearing glasses and wearing overalls covered in paint. And us art students go, "Meh," because
Right.
like I'm gonna wear my nice clothes to paint. Screw you. So, you know, but take her
Yeah.
glasses off and she's gorgeous. So she's
Right. It's like, oh, look, she has like, oh, she's a size 2. We didn't know that, really.
she wore baggy clothes like every other girl did in the 90s.
Yeah. It was,
Right.
and I know I'm not a big fan of the Freddie Prince oeuvre, but I just think his teen comedies weren't that great.
Yeah.
Uh, I,
He
I,
wasn't my guy crush.
yeah, he just kind of felt like,
He was there.
yeah, he felt like looking at paste. Like it's there. I guess it serves a purpose,
Yeah.
but why? Like
Right.
it just even in I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Hmm.
I thought he was just there. I thought Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, and Jennifer Love
I
Hewitt
liked him.
did a great job.
Right.
And then Freddie was just like, "Oh, I'm a fisherman." I mean, it was just like you're there. Ryan Phillippe is doing such a good job, and you're like,
Oh,
"I catch
but
fish.
he did. I
I
mean,
catch fish,
he
Johnny."
did so
I'm
good
like,
in most of his roles, so you expected him to do good. So,
I love Ryan Phillippe. I
I
think he's an
do too.
underrated actor. Um,
But he took.
a
I
really
mean,
underrated actor.
he took a break for a while, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. If you watch, I don't know if you saw Shooter on USA. We're
No,
totally diverging topics. I just would like to point out that I'm aware. Um,
I don't know what you're
Shooter,
talking about.
he did the adaptation of Shooter on US. I think it was USA or TNT, one of those
He
two.
did
It
2018,
was it was 3 years, I think it was. It was really he was so good
and he's
in
been on
that
Big
show.
Sky since 2020. I've never seen that.
I have not seen that either. I love Catherine Winnick. She was a girl crush for a little while there from Vikings. If you
Yeah.
haven't seen Vikings, definitely see Vikings.
Okay.
The first
Yeah.
four
Well, of
seasons.
course, from the man who wants to be burnt on a funeral pyre, go see Vikings. So,
with all of my stuff, just light us all on fire and let us go. Um,
because I'm gonna say, like, the last real movie that, I mean, we'd seen Crash. I want to say the last one we have on our system of him would be Antitrust.
oh God, don't see that. It's terrible.
Not my choice, but you know, he has a decent list.
Yeah, if you check out Shooter, he did a really good job
Okay.
portraying that. He was the Marky Mark character from the movie, and he did a really good job. And it was a really well done series, I thought. And they had a lot of problems too, because they were right in the middle of the writer's strike, and they had to cut one season short and go back, and it was a little tough. You know, I remember watching it, but he did a great job, and he held that show together, I thought, really well. And he owned it. Like he did really well. It's a tough role, actually,
Well, that
being
makes sense.
macho and being and knowing the military stuff, but yet he was also had a little bit of a sensitivity to it. It was kind of nice to
That's
see.
good. I'll add it to our list. I think we're just gonna finally start Ted Lasso because
I haven't seen Ted Lasso yet.
one of my friends loves it. And I want to say 2 months ago, Loot Crate had they just sent out an email for a free Loot Crate, and it was a Ted
What?
Lasso one. Yeah.
I want a Loot Crate.
Like, and it was in my email and they had a limited number. So I was like, all right, I don't watch it, but Drew does. So I got it, and that's his Christmas present, shipping it off to him. But now we're going to start it, and I bet somebody else is going to like the show. So
I'm sure.
oh.
Anyway, so that was a really fun discussion, I have to say. I was thinking for next week for our films to watch, I was thinking we could pick movies that are against our type.
Okay.
That something that someone would not think that we would actually like.
Okay.
Like a film that, you know, like
it's a film that's in our collection that people
wouldn't think that you liked.
Oh shit.
Like it's not a Becky movie. Like it's like, but you love it and you don't know why.
Okay.
Like if it would be me, like
what is your choice?
any floppy English costume drama or something like that. Like that would be like, if that would be a Mike choice. I don't like those kind of movies. I don't like talkies, you know, necessarily. And so I'm gonna pick for my choice. I'm gonna pick a film called The Last Days of Disco, and it was a Whit Stillman film from the '90s. And Whit Stillman does a movie every like 8 years or something. It's ridiculous. And it was one of Kate Beckinsale's first movies, and it starred Kate Beckinsale, Chloe Sevigny, Mackenzie Aston was in it.
I think I've heard of it.
And it was a weird talkie. It was just about like the end of the disco era and Studio 54, and it came out just around the same time as 54 came out, with Ryan Phillippe, ironically, which is why I thought of it just now. But I was obsessed with this movie, and it's not a Mike movie. It's a very much a character study, very like nothing actually happens really. It's just kind of this slice of life film that Whit Stillman's kind of known for. And I just I fell in love with it. I loved Kate Beckinsale in it. I thought she was really great. And it was kind of when I first noticed her. And so that's my choice. It's not a Mike movie at all. Like, you know, even the choices I've picked from our Dazed and Confused, Event Horizon, Batman Returns, down the line.
Might have all been fluff so far. Pretty much, right?
And so this one's gonna be a little bit different in that respect of one I love.
So far,
ironically, when I got in the theater, I had a poster of this on my bedroom wall through college. That's how much I liked it.
Okay. So, and I'm thinking something that is going against what everything else that I've chosen so far, because it's
just against your type. Like it's, you know, if someone would see that movie, they wouldn't be like, oh, Becky would love that. Totally different. Okay.
So ironically, as much as I started this out saying I don't like horror movies, I'm going to throw it way back. We're going to watch Carrie.
Oh, one of my favorite movies.
I love it. And I think I watched it for the first time with my mom, and I watched it. I was 14, and that was like my introduction to horror. But I mean, I loved reading Stephen King novels and stuff. Mm-hmm. But in general, I'm not a huge horror person. So, do I understand this assignment properly, sir?
I think so, because honestly, in reality, these two choices would be flipped. I would be
Oh,
Carrie and you would be Last Days of Disco. So I think this is perfect. But Carrie is one of my favorites.
okay.
I think that movie, you watch it now, it's
Oh, it's cheesy.
I mean, I'm not gonna say, I'm not going that far. I think it's not a horror movie.
Well,
I
no, it's
think
not
it's,
compared to, it's not, it's more psychological. Um,
yeah,
and I mean, and this is going to sound really bad and it might show my age, but I really enjoyed Carrie too as well, because I was at that right
the
age when it came
rage,
out.
the rage,
I
Carrie
had that
too.
poster. I worked at the movie theater when that came out. So I had the big ass
Yeah.
poster. I may still have some of those in the basement.
That was with oh my gosh, she was on Desperate Housewives, Carrie,
Choo, choo,
the
choo.
new Carrie,
Who was
and
it?
it was God, I can see her face, and she that was
Rachel
brought
Lane?
back. Yeah, it brought back Steven Spielberg's ex-wife for that film. Was the only original
Irving?
character that came back, Amy
Yeah.
Irving.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of,
Funny, I own it. I think on DVD somewhere.
dude, I don't own either of these movies,
It
but
was such a bad fun movie
right.
because Jason London was the guy.
hmm And it's so funny because he's one of those, like, he was in Days and Confused and some other ones that we've
Right,
watched, but he was one of those guys that I always saw in those movies. And I was like, oh, he's so cute. No idea who he was.
right.
So it was one
Well,
of those.
he's a twin. His twin brother. He's a twin
Okay.
brother,
So that,
Jeremy London, who is in Mallrats.
oh, well, that
I
makes
believe they're
sense.
twins. I believe they're twins. They could be just brothers, but I don't remember.
I do not know.
But he
But
doesn't. Yeah, he had a hard time with drugs and stuff. And after Mallrats, I don't think he really did too much. But Jeremy London, he was a really good actor for a while. For those utilitarian kind of like teen sensitive boys,
yeah.
he did a good job. I mean, look, Dazed and Confused. He did Rage Carrie too.
Jason,
There wasn't what
you said Jeremy, Jason.
Jason. See, they're switcher crown.
See, there you go.
But he
But,
he was really good for those.
it's one of those things that I was like, oh, he's so cute. And I have no idea. He was one of those guys, he wasn't like Jonathan Taylor Thomas that we all knew his name because I was that age group. So, he wasn't one of my major heartthrobs.
I
I
get it.
know. You're rolling
I
your eyes.
do enjoy. No, I mean, I'm not a Jonathan Taylor Thomas kind of guy, but
Yeah, but
thank God.
I think he's about my age. So he was, had the hair and everything, the 90s, all that. So
He did have hair in the '90s.
he still has hair. He's one of the few that do. So
But yeah, that I think that's gonna be fun. Actually watching Carrie again. I haven't seen it.
I haven't
I
seen it in years.
saw. I went to a reunion screening, 4 years ago, and half the
Okay.
cast was there. PJ Souls was there. Nancy Allen. I'm trying to think. Willie, who's the guy? Well, William Cat. William Cat was there. The mom, Piper Laurie,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a really fun screening. And we
That's
actually didn't go into the movie because the cast was coming in, so we were waiting outside, had them sign all our stuff, and we just got to hang out literally with PJ Souls, William Cat, and Nancy Allen for like 25 minutes, just shooting the shit. It was so fun.
See, and I just
It was
thought of
so
another
fun.
one that's probably, well, I don't know if that one's really against my type. I mean, it's against what we've watched so far.
But it's against your type. Like it wouldn't be something that
I'm
someone
the
would be
only one in
like,
the house that will
"Oh,
watch this movie. The other one, the other
what is
choice,
it? What is it?"
Rocky Horror Picture Show. I love it.
Um, Dude, it's great. My friend, well, okay, my friend Lisa is like and we can bring her on to have a special
I
Rocky
guess.
Horror talk because
Oh, that'd be
she
fun.
wrote the book on Rocky Horror, I believe.
See if she'll do that and we can set that up. Well, I don't know by Halloween because that's coming fast.
Yeah,
But
we can set it up. She's
um,
great. Well, she's one of my best friends. I love Lisa. She's great. She wrote a Brady Bunch book too on the Brady
really,
Bunch Variety Hour. Yeah, and
that's really cool.
she worked with Richard O'Brien on one of his records, so we can definitely do that one day. And my friend Terry actually was in Carrie.
Really?
She was in the Plug It Up scene.
Oh God, I hate that scene.
with Edie McClurg, but
Yeah.
if you watch her, she's in the back. She's very noticeable. I can invite her to be on a podcast so my mom can watch it. At some point too, we can talk about it because she's hilarious.
Okay.
And my friend Terry was also in. I wanted a little quick plug for her movie, a documentary called Strictly Background,
Okay.
and it was about background actors who, and they followed them kind of like through her thing. And she was Roseanne, stand-in on Roseanne. She was on Newhart.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
and
kind of
she was
cool.
one of the motorcycle mamas in Pee-wee's Big Adventure with Cassandra Peterson, and she's also a founding member of the Groundlings.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and
Nice.
she's a character. We became good friends. I adore her. She's a character, man.
We're going to start
Total
tapping into
character.
that and bringing some of your friends on. Most of my friends, they're not, I mean, if they're in LA, you know them anyhow. So,
Yeah, let's save Rocky because we can do a musical kind of thing.
well,
It'd be
do
kind
we
of a
want
fun
to
musical.
do 3 movies
So
next week?
no, let's do Carrie. Let's do our 2, and then we'll save Rocky. I think Rocky's kind of a perfect one for the following week,
Okay.
and we'll see.
See if you can
What we
join
can.
us.
Yeah, we'll see if Lisa can join us for at least half the discussion.
Yeah, that sounds great.
That'd be fun.
All right. So
Sounds
then,
good. Well, let's wrap this up because
all
we're just
right.
babbling now about next week, so my mom can watch, and the 4 of you that are tuning in,
We gained
we
someone.
do appreciate the patronage. This week's episode is brought to you by 7-Eleven. If you're in the mood for a frosty beverage that you can spike with any amount of alcohol you want,
Oh, that's what's
get the
happening.
super
Okay.
get the super big gulp from 7-Eleven. If you get the
Totally not
extra large
sponsored.
size, you
What
will
kind of
definitely get a little bit of a caffeine rush. I
alcohol
may
did you
suggest
put in there?
none, shockingly, but you can. If you're in the mood for a frosty beverage, you can just put in the fridge and freeze. It's
Uh-huh.
amazing. Totally do it. I highly suggest it. Personally, when I'm going to the super big gulp section, or the it's not super big gulp, I guess it's super frosty Slurpee big gulp
Slurpee.
section. When
Slurpee.
I want to fill up, I get Coke, then I do a splash of cherry, then I do more Coke, then I do a splash of cherry, then I do more Coke on top. And this way you get the full melting mix as you're going down. So I
Talk
highly
about
suggest
diverging
that.
concepts here.
I highly suggest that. So thank you to 7-Eleven for sponsoring us this week.
Now, 7-Eleven,
We
if you
very much
do hear
appreciate
this
it.
ever and you want to sponsor, we will do a real spot without the alcohol included. So
I didn't put it in. I just said you could.
well,
There is
okay.
definitely that thing.
But
It's like a
anyway,
slushie. But so thank you for 7-Eleven for sponsoring us this week.
so that is it for today. Check out our website, unpaidmoviecritics.com, and we will be back next week with another episode. Bye.
Sponsored in part by Walmart.
Oh God, no. Mike, what are you doing? I am stopping this recording right now.